When you first open MATLAB, either on your computer or through web apps, you'll be presented with a screen that looks generally like this, although your windows might be arranged a little bit differently the first time you open them. But all of them will be visible. You can arrange them the way that you like them. So the first thing we want to see are what are all these different windows that we see open here. So one that we'll be starting with a lot is the command window. And this is where we can type commands, as the name implies, that we want MATLAB to carry out immediately. I'll be going over in more detail what we can do in the command window, but this is where we can type different instructions, can tell it to take the sign of something, and we can assign variables, which again I'll be talking about in a couple of lectures here. And I'm assigning just random variables here. So that's what our command window does, is immediately carries out commands. If we look, as I was working in the command window here, and I was assigning values to variables, A and B and X, and something I called R, is if I come down here into the workspace, this is where I can see the variables that MATLAB is storing into memory. So I was assigning a value of 5 to A, I was assigning a value of 2 to X, I was assigning a value of 7 to X, 2 to B. So if I recall them here, back in my command window, I can see what their values are. If I come up here in the current folder window, I can see, first of all, which folder I'm working in. So I'm working in my own directory here. This is when we get to making scripts where you're going to be saving your M files. This is the directory on your computer that you're working in. So the current folder view shows you all of the different files that are in that folder. And when we get to working with our functions, working with our scripts, this is going to be important. But we see here it lists all the M files that are in our folder, and all the mat files we'll be looking at later that are in our current folder as well. What we can do is, if we go back to the command window, see there's a lot of the things I typed here. I can clear it with this CLC command. And all it does is blanks out my command window. And if I see all those variables in my workspace, I can get rid of those with the clear all command. And now you see my workspace is empty, and it forgot all of those things I just assigned. What you'll be working with a lot is these different functions built into MATLAB. Another window that we can have pop up is the documentation or the help window. If you type just doc in the command window, it opens up this help window, and here you can type in, if you don't know how a function works, let's say, we'll be getting into this in a bit, but looking at the sign function, we can type into the help and it will bring up how to use that particular function. So we see here, if we want to use the sign function, it takes the sign of some number that's expressed in radians and then returns out, our output is what the sign of that value is. It gives you a lot of different examples of how to use it, and we'll get into this in a bit, but this is generally how we can use that command, the help window. And the last window we're going to be able to bring up is our script window. So we don't see it at the moment, but if I come up here to New, Script, or I can press Control-N, it's going to open up this window here, and this is where, instead of as opposed to the command window where we type something and it happens immediately, here we're going to be able to type a list of things that we want to do. And then when we get to talking about M files, we'll be able to run a list of commands in sequence and also save this as an M file later. But that's the basics of the layout of what you're going to see in MATLAB.